the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content and contests, including our NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is offering you a chance to win $15 million in prizes with Best Ball Mania 4. Use the promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And we're brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use the code SGP. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on any college football bet, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code SGP. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne. Today is Monday, August the 28th. We have a full card of MLB action for Tuesday, August 29th handicap. It's a three-man go tonight. Joining us from Greensboro in North Carolina, I believe, is Mr. Lonte Smith. Hey, Lonte, how are you doing?
Good, man. Good to have you back. Now I have to worry about hosting for a while.
I can't hear Lonte.
Yeah.
Can you hear Lonte, Scott?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Why? You can't?
You can hear me, Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm doing good. Mal can't hear me. But yeah, I'm doing good, Mal. Or Scott, I guess I could say I'm doing good. How about you?
He said he's doing well.
All, but I think Scott can. Now Scott's saying things I can't hear Scott either. Right then.
This is not my fault this time. This is on you.
Or my fault.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Just been watching the U.S. Open for the most of the day. Ended up, just waiting for a parlay that I have to start, but pretty fun action so far. Mostly just hanging out. Are you back, Malcolm? You can hear us again?
I can hear you now, boys.
Okay, cool.
I have no idea what happened there because I can hear you loud and clear. Well, I'm really happy for you. Or sorry that happened. Because I don't know what you said. So whatever it was, one of those things applies. I had one of the very worst days of my life yesterday, which I'm sure you're all aware of. So I had to live it. I lived it yesterday in
what
real
do they
life.
call that? A super sub? Is that what they call it?
Fucking, I don't know what the word is. I've then just had to relive it on the MLB, on the Premier League an hour ago. And I knew I'd have to relive it again now. So, I'm not in a good place. To be fair, there shouldn't be too many. Everyone who wanted to come and take the piss in the chat came and took the piss either yesterday. Munaf sent me a message about 10 minutes after the final whistle, and he got a brisk F off reply. He got a 2-word reply from me. And then Captain Sean and a few people needled me. So, I feel like I've been run over by a 10-ton truck. However, as we said on the show just now, if those terrible things don't happen to you in sport, that's the only reason you can enjoy the good things, isn't it? You can't just win all the time. That's not how it works. You don't get to enjoy the good things unless you've endured the absolutely awful things. That's how it works. So, it's the journey past the mouth of the dragons that makes all of this bollocks worthwhile. I didn't see any college football. Lonte, you said you got a bit of a spanking.
Yeah, a little bit. I killed the Notre Dame game, but everything else I pretty much was on the wrong side of. But we'll bounce back this week. And thankfully, baseball has actually been saving me. I've been doing pretty good in baseball.
Scott, you said the 2 picks you'd given out here on college football, you gave out 2 winners and didn't bet either of them.
Yeah, pretty much. Ended up not being able to watch any of the games anyway. I had a family trip over the weekend, but I had Notre Dame and Jacksonville State. They both got there, so can't complain too much. Baseball recently, been on the, I'd say, receiving end of a couple of bad beats lately. Phillies, for example, had the first 5 team total over yesterday. 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position in the first 5, finished with 2 runs. So not a fun time recently, but it's a long season. You have ups and downs. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, I haven't watched much baseball because obviously I've been Premier League all day Saturday, and then I was out having a few beers yesterday for the match. But my account has been up and down, sort of £20 up, £20 down. So I think I've won and lost in equal measure. So nothing fantastic, but equally nothing terrible. So
I forgot, though. I did have a bad beat in the Premier League over the weekend. The final leg of a parlay I had was the both teams to score no in the Man City game.
Oh, Sheffield United.
That was the final leg that I had.
Sheffield United had no intention of scoring in that game.
Not even close. You knew a turnover was going to be the only way they scored, and they turned it over, and it resulted in a wide open shot. So
just before they scored, it was at the 84th minute. Manchester City had 22 shots, and Sheffield United had 0 shots.
Yep.
And then Captain Sino has joined in the chat. I need to get this out of the way as well. Now, Captain Sino absolutely tore me a new one in the D-Gens Fantasy League. I thought I had the game under control all week. And then on Friday night, I logged it. And Captain Sino's bats were like 17 at-bats, 9 home runs, like 21 RBIs. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think he broke world records. He had a historical night. So a lot of my numbers were good enough to beat the rest of the league, but not good enough to beat Captain. So he beat me 8-1. So I got knocked out. I went into the Discord chat this morning just to actually mention it, Captain. I was just going to say, well done, son. And in the Discord chat, everyone was arguing like cat and dog about some commissioner shit. So I did that Homer Simpson thing, like back into the bush. I sort of stuck my head in the Discord and thought, nah, fuck this, not for me. And just let them all carry on arguing. Noah and Blake and everyone were just So I thought, yeah. So I'm quite happy either way. I got knocked out. I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the season. Full card tomorrow. We get stuck in. I'll tell you first about DraftKings, where you can get involved in college football. Do better this week. DraftKings are hooking you up with a can't miss offer to start the season strong. You'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly if you bet just $5. Your team could go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years. Changes come fast. And only thing that's a lock is the great offer from DraftKings Sportsbook. So life's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code SGP. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they just bet $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code SGP. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Okay, we will start with a no-days poll tomorrow. It is a 6:40 Eastern first pitch between the LA Angels and the Philadelphia Phillies. Tyler Anderson for the Angels and Michael Lorenzen for the Phillies, plus 144 on Los Angeles, minus 162 on Philadelphia. Total is 9.5, and Lonte is going to lead us off.
Yeah, so I'm going to lean with the Phillies on the run line here. I also like the team total to go over. Lorenzen, he's been pretty much below average since that no-hitter. 10 earned runs in his last 2 starts, and that was what preceded the no-hitter. I think he'll get back on track against this Angels offense, who is, lackluster to say the least. They've covered 6 of their last 10 run lines. They've won 7 of their last 10. Offense has been rolling 6+ runs in 4 of their last 6 games. So I think they're a good bet at home here. I would rather lay it on the run line than on the money line, get a little bit more bang for your buck, because I think if they win, they're going to win by margin here against this Angels team. Anderson, 5+ runs in 2 of his last 3 starts, hasn't gone over 4 innings in his last 3 starts. So I think if they get to the bullpen, especially how bad the Angels bullpen is, I think the Phillies can have a night with their bats. So give me the Phillies team total over, and I like them on the run line as well.
Okay, so strong Philly start for Lonte, Scott.
Yeah, I'm on the same way. I just think that, once again, Philly's a much better team. The Angels had a pretty mediocre series over the weekend against the Mets, but I think Anderson, once again, is not the greatest of pitchers. Philly's top 10 in the league in OPS against lefties. And Lorenzen, not surprised, he struggled after the no-hitter. Most pitchers do. But I think when you're looking at this matchup, Philly's just the better team, and they have the better pitcher, and they're at home. They're a very good home team. I'll take the Angels on the run line here, too.
Yeah, I have factored in that no-hitter. We talked about it last week. I think it might have been us 3. And we talked about it, and then I ignored it. And I felt a bit silly afterwards. I think we talked, was it Framber Valdez? Which Astro threw the no-hitter? I think it was Valdez.
Valdez did.
Then again, they almost threw another no-hitter a couple starts later.
But it was 7 innings he had it, right?
It was through 8 2/3.
Okay,
and they blew the game. They lost the game, not only the no-hitter. But
he got the proper... The hangover from the no-hitter, and it lasted sort of beyond 3 games. So I'm happy to kind of fade Lorenzen a little bit. But that gives me the over in this game. Tyler Anderson just hasn't worked out. He's another LA signing that hasn't worked out. Like, I don't know what they do to players, but they just make them worse. So I do think Lorenzen might be good for a few. So we've got a couple of ways. Either Philly can completely light them up and get there by themselves, but I do think the Angels might contribute 3 or 4. So over 9.5 or a first 5 over would be another way for that. Just saying hello to the boys and girls in the chat case, and you win first in. TBDBJ, Randy. Who else is there? Captain Sino, obviously. Well done to you. And it was E4 Noti Osama, infrequent visitor. Nice to have you back for a little while. So yeah, if you've got any bets or comments or anything, no soccer talk, unfortunately, tonight. That is a $10 fine, not just $1 for the remainder of this evening. 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the Tampa Bay Rays at the Miami Marlins. We have Aaron Savale for Tampa Bay and Sandy Alcantara for Miami. The lines are -105 for Tampa Bay and -112 for Miami. So it's close with a total of 7.5, Scott.
For this one, once again, I think Alcantara's got more upside, but this year we know he's been very hit or miss. He has been better at home than on the road. Recently, not that great. Gave up 4 runs against the Padres the last time out, 3 runs against the Dodgers before that. Had a complete game, 1-run performance against the Yankees, but that's the Yankees, so it doesn't really count. But I think for this one, I'm going to lean to Tampa. This team woke up the bats over the past couple of weeks after having a really bad month in July. Miami's a 500 team. It's a shame. It was a lot of fun rooting for him for a decent portion of the year, but it is what it is. The team's offense isn't great enough. The bullpen isn't good enough, and Alcantara's been underwhelming. I'll take the Rays. I know Savale has a bit of a ceiling attached to him, but Tampa is a good team that find ways to win games, and Miami really hasn't done that recently. I'll lean to Tampa. If you want to take the Marlins, maybe first 5 and fade Savale, but I just think I got to go with Tampa. They had a nice series over the weekend. They had a bit of a brawl there against the Yankees a couple of times. It was a baseball brawl, though, so they pretended to care, and then they all separated once the bench was cleared. But I'm going to go with Tampa. I just think they're in better form. Give me the Rays.
Yeah, little stuff like that, like a little scrap or a hit by pitch or just a mild sense of injustice. Can't half galvanise a team occasionally. Like I like Tampa in this spot as well, just because they're the better team. You've got very similar pitches. Savale's been great on the road, really good, 186 ERA on the road, and he's been doing enough to win games, which is really important. Alcantara's been better, if not top class. But close on the books, I would say Tampa Bay win this 6 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10. So at the prices, I'll take Tampa -104, Lonte.
Yeah, I'm leaning to Tampa. I like the over a little bit more. Tampa's hot right now. I mean, like a lot of people, and myself included, kind of counted them out or wrote them off a little with the injuries and the stuff that was going on with Wander. But I mean, they've won 8 of the last 10. Some of it is opponent based, but overall, they're doing what they need to do. They're beating bad teams, which is, I mean, what you got to do. They're not far back from Baltimore in that race also. So, I mean, they're 35-29 on the road. They've dominated Miami in the 2 meetings this year, outscored them 11-2 in that span. That was back in July. 2 totally different teams, of course. But, I mean, Savale, you mentioned it, Scott. He hasn't allowed over 3 earned runs since June. But, again, you got to preface that with the offenses he's faced. I mean, he's faced, Colorado, San Francisco, Cleveland, the White Sox, Kansas City a couple times. So not the best offenses, which is why it's just a lean here. Sandy at home also in his last 3 starts only allowed 2 earned runs combined. So, that's why it's just a lean here. But I think both offenses should be able to get out the gate and get going here in this matchup. So I do like the over and lean to Tampa.
The next game is the Yankees game. I'll throw up my stat of the day at this point because it involves the Marlins, who we've just talked about, and the Yankees, who we are going to talk about. Miami have never, ever had a worse record than the Yankees regular season. Currently, 7 games better off. Were you aware of that stat, Scott, as a Yankees fan? Does that sound plausible to you?
Sounds about right. I mean, the Yankees haven't finished a year below 500 in a while, and Miami...
30 years.
I was going to say, Miami's had 2 World Series titles, which were kind of out of nowhere. They won a series in the COVID season, but they had extra playoff teams. So, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, never had a worse record than the Yankees. 7-game lead at this point. It's going to be a photo finish.
I think you mean a better record than the Yankees. They've
What did I
always had a
say?
worse record than the Yankees.
They've always had a worse record. Yeah,
that's
exactly
why you
what I
said it
meant.
initially. I'm like, no, I know what you mean, but I don't think that's what you said.
Worse. Yeah, I've just read.
Yeah,
I've wrote it
the
down.
Yankees have never had a worse record than the Marlins at the end of a season.
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to say.
I've just read it out, sort of Anchorman style from my terrible note. 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the New York Yankees and the Detroit Tigers. We have Michael King going for the Yankees and our second favorite, Tarek on the show. Tarek Skubal, left-handed pitcher, goes for the Detroit Tigers. It's another tight one on the books, plus 105 on the Yankees, minus 108 on the Tigers. Total is 8.5 or 9 if you want it. King, 3-5 on the year, 3.13 ERA. Opener, Michael King, or a multi-inning reliever, that kind of thing. And he's been okay. He's just really meh. Every sort of angle I looked at, I couldn't hate it, but it didn't blow my skirt up at all. Like Tarek Skubal is 3-2 on the year. He's got a 4.06 ERA. He's alternating good and bad starts. Luckily, this time, it's time for a good one. The key for me is Skubal's home form. 4 games started at home, 2-0 with a 1.48 ERA. The Yankees are terrible on the road, 26-35. You look at the odds, and it looks like a trap. Plus 105 on the Yankees to beat the Tigers. You sort of your brain, everything you know to be right and proper makes you want to take the Yankees every time, but you just can't. I'm going to take the Tigers minus 108. Lonte.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take the Yankees here. I mean, I like Skubal a lot. I'm leaning towards the over. I wanted to get a little bit of a lower price on it. I thought I would, but I mean, the way the Yankees have been playing, I can't blame the books for putting it here. Detroit 37-26 to the over at home. They've scored 4+ in 5 of their last 6. The Yankees are over in 7 of their last 10. A lot has to do with the opponent and not really them. They've scored 4+ in 4 of the last 5, though. A lot of that's probably garbage time, like late in the game. But probably when the game was non-competitive. Scott can probably touch on that a little bit more. But yeah, you can't play New York here. They're just a disaster right now. I actually like Detroit going into next year, so I think they'll finish strong. I like them to win here, and I like the over in the game.
Scott?
I'm kind of on the fence on this one because I had so much fun blindly fading the Yankees when getting plus money, but we're not getting plus money anymore, which is pretty annoying, but it's better late than never that the odds makers adjusted, I guess. For this one, I'm a little bit torn because the Yankees have actually been decent against lefties. And yeah. I know that Skubal, once again, is a pretty solid pitcher in general, but the Yankees have done well against lefties. And Detroit still isn't good. Like, I know the Yankees aren't a good team either, but I do think this is worthy of being a coin flip. I think I am going to lean to Detroit in the end because I do think that Skubal can at least go 5 or 6 innings. King's going to go 3 max. They're trying to go like half job of Chamberlain with them, where they're trying to turn him into a starter, and I don't really know why, but I'm going to lean to Detroit. I don't feel great about it, but I do think that Skubal's the better starting pitcher. So I'm going to go with the Tigers. But to be honest, most of the value blindly fading the Yankees has completely just gone. It was much more fun fading them at like plus 160 with the Nationals about a week ago.
Yeah, it really was. That left-handed pitching angle is an angle that Moonap's ridden a couple of times on the show recently with me. And actually, it has paid off, so it might be worth considering. But still, at the prices, the Yankees won't be seeing any of my money. 7:05 Eastern first pitch. The Chicago White Sox at the Baltimore Orioles. Jesse Scholtens for Chicago. Dean Kramer for Baltimore, who are minus 230. The White Sox are plus 194. And the total is 9, Lonte.
Yeah, pretty simple here for me, man. I like Baltimore on the run line. I mean, they've won 7 of the last 10. The White Sox are losers in 7 of their last 10. Baltimore 5+ runs, 4 of the last 5 games. And with Scholtens on the mound, I mean, they should exceed that like pretty easily. He had been going well previously, but he struggled to end August. He's allowed 10 runs in his last 2 starts against Oakland and Colorado. Now, this offense is definitely not Oakland or Colorado, so I think he'll struggle with that. Kramer, he's been good. He hasn't allowed over 3 earned runs since mid-July. He's faced solid offenses in that span. Philadelphia, Houston, the Dodgers. I mean, he's been really good. Baltimore also on the run line, 31-27 as a favorite. So I think all signs point to Baltimore pretty much rolling here. Like I mentioned with Schultens, I mean, if he couldn't perform against Oakland and Colorado, against those, below average offenses, I think Baltimore at home will probably score, north of 7 runs here. So I like Baltimore on the run line, and I also like their team total to go over.
Okay, love that, Lonte. Scott?
For this one, I am a little bit concerned about taking Baltimore on the run line because they really weren't great on the run line over the weekend against Colorado. I thought they would be, but they were not. But I'm also concerned about Batista, who suffered an injury, so now they're without a closer. So I am a bit concerned about how they're going to finish games off in this spot. But the White Sox, we know, are a terrible team. They fired the entire front office. They're going to blow up the entire roster during the offseason. It's really tough to make a case for the White Sox. I thought about maybe a team total over for the White Sox, but Kramer has been very good lately. Last 4 starts, 24 and 1/3 innings pitched, a 2.59 ERA. A crazy stat, though, the Orioles are actually 8-1. They're 8-1 in Kramer's last 9 starts. So Baltimore's done well when he's been on the mound. I like Baltimore, but I guess I'll lean run line. But once again, I am a bit concerned with the lack of a proper closer at this point in time.
Yeah, I mentioned ages ago that Baltimore weren't getting any length. It was one of my May threads that Baltimore might just drop away at the end of the season because they were hammering the bullpen. So hopefully that's not going to cost them down now sort of during the last 5 weeks of the season. Schultens was a pitcher, one of those, Scott, that I watched by accident. I know you like it when I accidentally watch pitches. Just because I think one night they were starting at a perfect time for me to watch the game. So I just thought I'll have a little pizza bet on it. And I took Schultens strikeouts and he won. And I watched him a couple of times. So I'm probably more aware of his work than I should be. And he is beginning to struggle. And this is a bad spot for him. Loads of great stats that you've thrown about Lonte, about Baltimore on the run line as favourites. That Scott's throwing out about Kramer going 8-1. So good length out to Kramer as well. Maximum 3 runs you give up. And that's good enough, I think, in this spot. -111 is the run line price. So, yeah, I'll side with Lonte and I'll take that one. Where are we going? 7:05. Nope, 7:07. Almost 2 minutes. Crucial. Washington Nationals at the Toronto Blue Jays. Left-handed pitcher. Mackenzie Gore for Washington and Jose Barrios for the Toronto Blue Jays. +172 Washington. -192 Toronto. 8 or 8.5 if you want it, Scott.
For this one, I think I'm going to lean to Washington. I think it's going to be close, but it's mostly just based on recent form. I actually like how Washington's played lately. Gore, I know, has been up and down, and I've roasted him on the show on occasion, and Barrios has actually been decent this year. But I still don't really trust Toronto at all, and I do think when you're looking at the current form of these teams, +172, I think is very appealing. I'm going to lean to the Nationals for the value. I'm not going to lay that price with Toronto at home. That's just not going to happen.
Okay, big dog for Scott, Lonte.
Yeah, I'm on Washington as well. I'm probably going to be on them all series. I took them as my dog yesterday at like +210 or +208 or something like that. I think they're going to be live to win. Like you always say, Mal, I think you bet them both games or throughout the series, they're going to win one and you're going to come up profitable.
Love that angle, mate.
Yeah, so, I mean, they've won, 8 of their last 11. 6 of the last 10 have went over for Washington, while Toronto offensively, they picked it up. They're inconsistent still, like Scott mentioned, but they picked it up over the last 2 outings, 15 combined. So I do think that being with the pitchers having inconsistencies and, Barrios, I don't think he should be this big of a favorite as well. I thought Gosman was too big also. So, Toronto being inconsistent and, they've lost 6 of the last 10, including 4 of the last 5. So I don't think we can trust them to lay this big of a number. Washington also on the run line. If you can get under 120, I think it's right at 120 right now at +1.5. I think that's a good bet also. I mean, they're 8-2 on the run line in their last 10, 43-23 on the run line in road games. That's the stat of the day for you, Mal. 43-23 on the run line. And a lot of those were probably underdog rolls. Pretty much what they're in right now. Yeah. So I like Washington here. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take Mackenzie Gore in the first 5 also.
It's a bad sign when the opposing pitcher gets DFA'd after the game, and you still lose. because Syndergaard got DFA'd and Toronto didn't even win the game.
Yeah, that was horrible.
I hadn't
Not a
seen
good look.
Syndergaard had been DFA'd.
Yeah, he got DFA'd, unfortunately. The stolen base prop era might be over. So it was a good run. But he got DFA'd because he was that bad, and Toronto still lost the game. I just want to throw that out there. But
he does look lovely with his shirt off, though, so it's not all bad news, for thought. I wasn't brave enough to get Washington. I feel like I should have done now. Washington have been really good to us, haven't they, the last 10 days or so? My picks are over 8. Yeah, probably longer. My picks are over 8. In the Go is very middling. He's hard to work out. And home runs are a problem. So you might get some Toronto home runs, even though we know Toronto don't hit many home runs. Myself and Munaf had trivia night on Friday on the show. And Toronto were one of the answers for the low-scoring home run teams. But the Blue Jays are hitting lefties quite well. 276. And Barrios just gives up too many runs. So it's another one where both teams can help out. So yeah, I probably should have landed on Washington if I'd done this better. But I'm going to go with it over 8. Thank you. Right, let's tell you about some of our lovely sponsors before we crack on with the card. And Underdog Fantasy is who I'm going to talk about. August is almost over. Time is running out for you to draft your fantasy football team. I've got the Guillotine draft with the Golf Gambling Podcast people, Steve Shermer, the God of Golf, and Boston Capper. Everyone's in there tomorrow. 2:30 in the morning for me, that draft, by the way. Awful people. Like, no concession to me across the pond. 2:30 in the morning.
I think you're going to hire somebody to draft for you.
I did last week. Dylan drafted me one.
Oh, okay.
In the SGPN D-Gens League. But the Guillotine League, I like the Guillotine League. It's a pro, so I'm going to have to get up and do that myself. Anyway, none of that rubbish on Underdog Fantasy. One live snake draft, no waivers, no trades. Set it, forget it. Underdog will do the rest for you. The Best Ball Mania tournament, $15 million prize. $13 million to the winner. It's wild. So the last day to draft your fantasy football team is September the 7th. Get involved at underdogfantasy.com. Find them in the App Store and sign up with the promo code SGPN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. If you're concerned to be a player, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And the SGP Patreon, get across there, sign up. Things like the NFL Win Totals contest has got a $1,000 first place prize. The week's Patreon pick'em is all week one college football. It's just a great way to support the network. Always helps us churn out this content and fight back against corporate gambling. Do it at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. 7:10 Eastern first pick, Texas Rangers at the New York Mets. It is Andrew Heaney for Texas and Jose Quintana for New York. Two lefties going at each other here. -125 Texas, -108 the Mets. Total is 8.5. First reaction to this is the prices, because I handicapped this at 3:00 this afternoon without the prices. And I cannot believe the Mets are favourites to beat anyone. Certainly not Texas, and certainly not with the capabilities.
They're not favourites. They're just slight underdogs.
No, -108. I've got -125. Right. That'll be fucking it. That makes more sense. -125.
It's close to even, but I see the Mets at +105.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. That makes more sense now. So my instinct on this game is the odds make perfect sense. This is exactly how I would have priced it up. Heaney's 9-6 on the year, 4.34 ERA. His last two starts were poor. 4 1/3, 3 2/3. He gave up 7 hits on both occasions, gave up 3 earned on both occasions. And last time it was home runs at Minnesota, 3 homers off the Twins. It's really quite hard to know what to expect of Heaney. He's been up and down like a bride's 90 this season. Quintana, he's just got a really average profile. He's 1-5 on the year, 3.73 ERA. Even if you forgive him a 5 earned run start at Atlanta last time, it's just all middle. 6 innings pitched, 2 or 3 earned runs. Now, the difference for me was the Mets are hitting 228 at home and 236 against lefties. Texas hitting 259 on the road and 280 against lefties. That's a big old difference. It's 31 points of average in the home road. It is 44 points of average against lefties. Yes, Texas is struggling 1-9 in the last 10. But I just can't. Again, we know it's the Mets. That's it. I thought this was a really hard game, actually. But the price is okay for me. Texas minus 125, Scott.
Yeah, for this one, I understand why the price is so low. I also know why you might be skeptical to take either team, because Texas is in free fall. They might finish in third place in the division, and the Mets are a lost cause. So you're kind of stuck in no man's land. I'm going to go with the Mets team total over in this one. I'm going to fade Heaney. I don't like his current form, and I just think, once again, Heaney is potentially going to struggle giving up some home runs, and I think that the Mets can tee off against him. On top of that, the Rangers, fun fact, have more blown saves than actual saves this year, 25-24. So I can't trust the bullpen. They've tried Chapman out as a closer. It's been a mess. He's been good as a setup guy, but still, I don't like the starter. I don't like the bullpen. I can't really trust either team. So give me the Mets to find a way to get to around 4 runs. Give me the Mets team total over.
I noticed that Chapman, I saw a stat on Chapman, he's blown something like over 50% of his save opportunities this year. He's like 8 for 22 or something wild.
But his ERA in like non-save situations is below 1. Like his ERA is insane when he's not pitching in the 9th inning.
Yeah, that was the exact the stats that I saw. Like, so, Lonte.
Yeah, so I think you guys set it up. I mean, I'm gonna lean with the Mets here, not typically because of I don't like either team. Let's not get it misconstrued, but I mean, the Mets at plus money. Quintana, I think, is a better pitcher here in current form. You mentioned it, Scott. Haney, I mean, I don't think he should be laying this big of a. Well, I don't think he should be laying this number. I think it should be about 110 both sides. To be honest with you, that's how I
actually like Quintana. Quintana's kind of won me over this year. I don't think he's
right.
That bad.
I mean, outside of, like Mal said, outside of that 5 runs that he gave up to Atlanta, I mean, he's been solid. He just hasn't got any wins. Because of the offense hasn't been able to produce any wins for him, but he's been solid. And prior to that Atlanta game, he hadn't allowed over 3 earned runs in those 7 starts. So he's been pretty good.
He also hadn't allowed a home run. That was the first game he allowed a home run in.
Right. So, I mean, you can't fault him for, what happened in Atlanta. I mean, that happens to pretty much everybody, no matter how good your pitcher is. So I'm going to go with the Mets here. I don't hate that team total that you just threw out, Scott. I don't like the current form of Texas or Haney at all. I think that it should be right around, like a pick'em game, and I'll take the plus money with the Mets here.
Okay. Where are we going? 7:10 Eastern first pitch. Houston Astros at the Boston Red Sox. JP France for Houston. Brian Bello for Boston. Plus 102 on the Astros. Minus 118 on Boston. And the total is set at 10. Good game, this one. France 9-5 on the year, 3.51 ERA. He got shellacked last time out against Boston. 10 earned runs off 2 1/3 innings. However, before that, he was fine. Maximum 2 earned runs was what he would give up generally. So I think I am personally happy to trust that the shellacking was an outlier. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird setup because he faces the same lineup again. I think they'll have a plan for him. I think France and the Astros will have a plan for this Boston lineup to try and ensure this doesn't happen again. I did think, and this was a bit deep for me, I freaked myself out a little bit, he can throw multi-walks occasionally. If part of his plan is to keep the ball away from some of the people who mashed him up, like Devers, etc., there might be a walk prop here for France, because he can walk a couple. And if he's just got the fear that he's going to get shellacked, he might just be a little bit twitchy and leave it an extra 3 or 4 inches outside the plate, a little bit just down and away. We'll pitch round a couple of these players. So that might be an angle in, but like I say, that's way beyond my pay grade. And my guy Bello, I love him every week. I left him on the bench in one of my fantasy leagues last week when he threw 7 shutout against somebody. He strung together 2 more belters, 13 innings and 2 earned runs given up in those last 2. Another really close game. I'm going to take Boston to win at minus 118. Slightly prefer Bello over France. And recently, slightly prefer Boston over Houston as well. Although Houston did get back on track at the weekend and won a couple. But yeah, I'll take Boston minus 118, Lonte.
Yeah, pretty even game here. I think both teams, they split a 4-game set, about 4 or 5 days ago in Houston, and Bello was like unbelievable there. One run. He only allowed one run once in his last 3 starts. That was included in that start, the Houston start. It had he didn't allow a run. He only allowed 1 run. I'm sorry, but he allowed 9 hits. So he kind of got to get that fixed, because that's a stat that's probably going to regress back to the mean. I mean, 9 hits and 1 run. He got kind of lucky there, but I think he'll be fine. I do like the over in the game. I know it's a big number, but all 4 games in the previous series went over, and Boston's played in 10 straight overs, and Houston's over in 8 of their last 10. You mentioned France getting rocked in his last start. I think Bello's a better pitcher here. Give me the over and give me Boston. I think they're in better form. They're going on a playoff push, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they are. 2 for Boston, Scott. Boston,
yeah,
Scott.
I'm going to lean to Boston.
That happens quite a lot, doesn't it?
I'm going to lean to Boston, but I am going to go with the over. Houston's been involved in a lot of high-scoring games lately, whether it involves allowing a bunch of runs or scoring a bunch of runs or both. You're looking at Houston's last 9 games. 8 of the last 9 have had at least 10 runs. So I think you're looking at a spot that should involve a lot of runs here. Bello was good last time out. Maybe Houston makes some adjustments. Maybe France makes some adjustments too. But I think either way, you might end up meeting in the middle. And I think both bullpens could, potentially be susceptible to giving up some runs, especially Boston, because Jansen has not exactly been a great closer either for that team. I'm going to lean over, but I'm going to lean to Boston. I think you'll see runs, but Boston gets a little bit more done to win this game, 6-5, something like that.
Nice. 7:40 Eastern first pitch. Cleveland Guardians at the Minnesota Twins. Gavin Williams for Cleveland. And we have Pablo Lopez going for the Minnesota Twins, who are a -175 home favourite. Cleveland a +152. And the total is set at 8 for Lonte.
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the under. This is a typical 4-3 game. Don't care who wins. That's just how it goes. In their last 5 matchups, 4 went under. All of those games flew under. Average of 4.8 runs under the total in those matchups. Minnesota solid at home, 39-27. They dominate as a favorite, 52-36 as a favorite. I like Lopez. He's in bounce back form. He got shelled by Texas. I think he gave up 10 hits, 5 runs or something like that. But prior to that, he had went 19 innings straight without allowing a run. So a little bit of a hiccup. I think he can bounce back here. He also went 6 straight without allowing over 2 runs. He went 6 starts without allowing over 2 runs. So he's been in good form outside of that one hiccup. I think he can shut down this Cleveland offense. I like the under. I think we can see a 4-3, maybe even a 3-2 type of game, Mal. We can see a 3-2 type of game. Either way, that gets us under the total. I would look to play Minnesota on the run line also. Yeah,
I was pointing at my notes there. This is a MLB Gambling Podcast classic. 4-3. I've written it down straight away. First thing I wrote down. I knew Lonte would be there as well. Yeah. I think, if gun to my head, if I had to pick a side, I'd pick Cleveland, just because there's nothing between these 2 teams, really. Minnesota are a little bit better, but -175 to +152. I would take Cleveland. I think they'll probably win enough games against Minnesota to make that price profitable. And I don't mind Williams. He was poor last time. I get that. But he was okay before that. Cleveland have lost his last 5 starts. He just gets no run support. But I always like to take the dog in a low-scoring game. It is going to be a 4-3. At that point, I would take Cleveland as well, Scott.
I think I'm going to lean to Cleveland as well. I don't exactly feel great about I'd say, prospects of both teams down the road, but the point is these teams I don't think are separated by much. Minnesota is better, but I did see Lopez struggle against Cleveland earlier this season when 5 2/3 gave up 6 runs, so they've actually done well against him. And he did get shelled the last time out. Maybe he was overachieving in the past couple starts. He was, because he didn't give up a run in 3 straight starts, and then he got buried. I think, once again, Williams is fine. Lopez is okay too, but once again, Cleveland's had some success against him. I just feel like this price is a little bit large. I think it should be closer to 140, give or take, but at this price, it just seems a little bit too steep. I'm going to lean to Cleveland.
7:45 Eastern first pitch. The San Diego Padres at the St. Louis Cardinals. Seth Lugo for San Diego and Zach Thompson goes for the Cards. -142 on the Friars. The Cardinals are +120, and the total is at 9, Scott.
Yeah, pass, I guess. I hate both these teams. It's really tough to fully analyze who I think's going to win when both these teams have been really bad. One team we know has been bad. The other one has been trash-talking the Nationals and now has the same record as the Nationals. So congratulations to the Padres there. But I think for this one, I think I'm going to lean to the Padres' first 5. I don't mind Lugo. Lugo's been okay lately. Zach Thompson, I'm not a big fan of. I have never really been a big fan of him. The numbers are pretty even for both pitchers, but I do think Lugo is a bit better. For the full game, I would probably consider the Cardinals because I really hate that Padres bullpen. But I think for the first 5, Lugo is the better pitcher, in my opinion. But that involves betting on the Padres, and on the other side, you're betting on the Cardinals, so it's not fun either way. But Lugo has actually allowed 0 runs in each of his last 2 starts. So I think I would lean to Padres' first 5. Get in, get out before the bullpen blows the game. I'll lean to the Padres' first 5.
You love that, Scott. Lonte?
Yeah, my initial thoughts on this game was exactly what Scott was. I don't want anything to do with either of these teams. I don't know if you guys seen with Bob Melvin, they asked him about the standings, and he's like,
it doesn't matter.
What are we monitoring the standings for? Yeah, so I'll lean to St. Louis at home. I kind of, unlike Scott, I kind of like Thompson. He's been okay in August. I mean, he hasn't allowed over 2 runs in his last 5 appearances. So I think he'll be fine. I mean, again, you kind of never know what you're going to get with the San Diego lineup. I'll lean with St. Louis at home to get it done. I mean, I like a lot of bad teams here, so.
You do. This is the bald men in the comb situation, isn't it? Lugo, 2 6-inning starts scoreless. There's no arguing with that. It's happened. Thompson has been okay. So it was just on hitting. He scored 3 runs in 3 games. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to take the Padres and parlay it with the under 9. This has got like a 5-1 San Diego feel about it. The confidence with which I regularly throw out correct scores when I can't hit 50% on just taking sides is absolutely ridiculous. I'm always so confident about these. The Padres will win, and it's going to go under 9, so that would be a parlay on that. But yeah, it's going to be way down on the betting card.
I like how it's a game between 2 teams that we can't stand, and yet you somehow found a way to get 2 bets on the same game when both Lonte and I want nothing to do with this game at all.
Yeah, 1-800 Gambler, I think is the number you're looking for. 8:05 Eastern first pitch is the Milwaukee Brewers at the Chicago Cubs. Corbin Burns for the Brewers, and we have Justin Steele, left-handed pitcher, going for the Chicago Cubs, plus 116 for the Brewers, minus 130 on the Cubs. Total is 7 or 8. Big disparity in that one. Burns, 9-6, 3.65 ERA. He's still hard to trust. He's got a 7-inning shutout at the Dodgers, sandwiched between 6 earned run and 5 earned run efforts against the Twins and the White Sox. It's been okay on the road, 3.08 ERA. Has faced the Cubs once this year, pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 earned runs. Steele's still been very reliable. He's got almost identical lines if you look at his game log. It's just the same old stuff. You can't really differentiate them. And they always win. The Cubs, his last starts. His last 4 starts, they've won 5-4, 6-4, 5-4, 6-4. So they'll do it again. This is right in my danger zone. I mentioned this on Friday night, the Moon. This minus 130 money line is absolutely my kryptonite. I'm great with the bigger prices. The dog's fine. Don't like to go beyond 140. I hate this. It's a proper twilight zone for me. But I'm going to do it again. Cubs at minus 130, Scott.
Yeah, so just read off a couple of Steele's numbers here. The Cubs have won each of his last 7 starts, and they've also won 12 of his last 13 starts. So they've been doing very well when he's on the mound. Having said that, I think I'm going to take Milwaukee at plus money. I just feel like this price should really be minus 110 apiece, or maybe minus 115 for the Cubs. I don't know how you can really differentiate these teams based on the pitching matchup, because Burns, I know, has been a bit hit or miss lately, but Milwaukee's won 8 straight. I think we're going to look up and see a 1-1 or a 2-2 game in the 7th inning. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'm going to lean to the under, but I also like the Brewers' bullpen a lot more than Chicago's. So I can see the Brewers coming from behind and winning. I believe it's 4-3 or 5-4 in the head-to-head, so it's been neck and neck. But if you want to give me plus 116 with Burns, I'm going to take it. I just think, once again, this game should be very close, down to the wire. They've won 8 straight. If you want to give me a team that's won 8 straight at plus money, I'm going to take it. If Chicago wins, would I be shocked? No, because Steele's really good and the Cubs are also good, but this price feels a little bit off. I think it should be closer to a pick 'em. Give me Milwaukee at plus 116.
Yeah, it was sort of 10 points of price, Scott, that had me scratching my head a little bit. Lonte?
Yeah, I mean, Scott pretty much took my whole handicap. I thought it should be right at like pick 'em. I think 110 is either way, especially with how hot Milwaukee's been. I actually took a flyer on Milwaukee before right when in the middle of this streak that they were on to win the NL. So I think if they can get what they got from Peralta, I think Burns will be Burns. And if this offense can be at least consistent, I mean, it's picked up the end of the month. I mean, they've scored 5+ runs in 8 straight games. They've won 8 of 10. One of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They had success hitting the ball off Steele, 9 hits, but that technically didn't result in runs. They only had one. They only scored 3 runs off of him, but they put the ball in play. I think they get over the hump here. I think Burns should be maybe a slightly favorite, but 110 at the least. Each of the last 3 games were decided by 1 run. I'll take what I think is the slightly better pitcher. I'm a fan of Steele, but I think Burns is still a slightly better pitcher than he is right now. I'll take the hotter team at plus money. Give me Milwaukee.
I think there's been a fire or something in the YouTube comments. Everyone's scattered. Everyone's gone. There's a couple of people coming back in now, but everyone's just disappeared. Save yourselves. 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Just the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Kansas City Royals. This is the one game that's off the board tonight. Pittsburgh or TBD, where Cole Ragans is going for the Kansas City Royals, left-handed pitcher. I have no lines for this at all. Lonte, you got much on this one?
Just bet the over. I think both teams will be able to score here, no matter who the pitcher is. Pittsburgh is 69-56 to the over on the season. Kansas City's went over 7 of the last 11. At home, they're 34-29 to the over. I think both teams can have success offensively. Outside of that, disgusting game.
Scott.
Yeah, it's a disgusting game, but I actually kind of like Ragans. I think he's actually not that bad. I wouldn't mind a strikeout prop for Ragans. I got to read off these numbers because he's been really, really good. To go through the strikeouts, 11, 9, 5, 11, 8. He's been rolling with strikeouts recently, and Pittsburgh does strike out a decent amount, so I can see Ragans maybe getting to 10 once again. Then again, he had 11 last time against Oakland, but that's a double-A team according to Mal. So I'm going to lean to Ragans here. I like him. I think he's actually not that bad. I don't remember him ever being good on Texas, but he might have found something with the Royals. I'm going to lean to Kansas City here. I think they got the better pitcher no matter who's pitching for Pittsburgh. So give me Ragans strikeouts on top of that. Maybe strikeouts and Royals money line, like performance boost or parlay or something like that.
I'm all in on Ragans. If there's a pitcher that's going to make us money between now and the end of September, it's going to be Ragans. He's been absolutely outstanding. Obviously, he doesn't get on the radar much. No one's watching Kansas City games. No one's watching Kansas City v Pittsburgh in this situation. They've won 3 of his last 5. He has been really, really good. And he was a name, because in sort of fantasy circles, he gets talked about as a sleeper a lot. He was a name at Texas. And I think the back end of last season, me and Moon have had some success in picking him up. But he's just been absolutely great. 4 of his last 5 starts have finished way under, which is disappointing news for you, Lonte. And Pittsburgh just aren't in scary form. Occasionally, you fancy Pittsburgh to put up a few runs, but just not at the moment. And I love Ragans. I don't think Kansas City will be too short here because that name recognition hasn't yet been attached to Ragans. I'll be betting Kansas City tomorrow, hopefully at not too restrictive a price.
If you want a potential sleeper play, I'm not sure if it's going to cash, but just hear me out. Ragans to lead all pitchers in strikeouts tomorrow. If you can find that. Might be a decent price there.
I don't get shit like that on my...
He's at 11 in 2 of the last 4 starts.
Where do you find it at?
I know FanDuel usually posts something. I don't know if it's only for Fridays or not. I think it's for every day. They post like the daily leader for strikeouts. You might get a really nice price.
Like they do on football. Yeah, I think DraftKings does that too. Yeah. They do leader, like receiving leader,
passing yard, for football stuff like that. Basketball.
Okay. I didn't know they did it in baseball.
For strikeouts, if you can find Ragans at anywhere north of like 15 to 1, I'd take a flyer with that. If you have a free bet, throw it out there.
That's a great market. I would love shit like that. 8:40 Eastern first pitch is the Atlanta Braves at the Colorado Rockies. Charlie Morton for Atlanta and Peter Lambert. Correct, yes. Peter Lambert goes for the Colorado Rockies. Minus 250 on Atlanta, plus 210 on Colorado. Line is set at 12, which is a big number. Scott?
Yeah, it's at Atlanta and Coors Field. I don't know what more you want from me. I think Atlanta's going to score like 8 runs per game, maybe more in the series. Colorado hung tough, which is a code word of saying they lost close against Baltimore. That doesn't really mean anything to me. Atlanta, once again, is just a much better team. Lambert is, I don't even know what to call him. Is he like a temporary starter? He's just mediocre or slightly below average, but Colorado's just bad. Atlanta, I think, is going to bury him the entire weekend. Give me Atlanta to pretty much average like 9 runs per game in this series. I'll take Atlanta on the run line, team total over, whatever. I think they're going to bury Colorado.
Okay, Scott's all in on Atlanta, Lonte.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that. They're 40-23 on the road. I love the team total to go over. They won 7 of the last 10, scored 5+ in 4 straight in Coors. Like you said, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they put up 10, 11 runs here. They've outscored Colorado this season 40-12. Non-competitive games at all. Man, give me Atlanta team total to go over. Look for some Acuna props, like stolen base, total
Olsen,
base,
home run maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like you got to unload on this team total for Atlanta and Coors.
Well, at risk of you boys making me look bad, I'm taking the Rockies here. Charlie Morton has been great. 18 innings in his last 3 starts, 0 earned runs. He's only given up 9 hits in 18 innings. Yeah. However, at the Rockies, he's got a 5.35 ERA in his career. He doesn't like it. Lambert has been okay. 3 earned, 1 earned, 2 earned in his last 3 starts. He had a 1 earned run home start against the White Sox. They got a chance here. Can't be pissing around with minus 250s. So we'll take a plus 210 on Colorado to get one over the line here. 9:40 Eastern first pitch is the Oakland Athletics at the Seattle Mariners. Left-handed pitcher Ken Waldichuk goes for Oakland, and George Kirby for Seattle. Plus 260 Oakland, minus 298 for Seattle, and a total of 7.5. Waldichuk 2-7, 6.05 ERA. Not been terrible lately. He's thrown out the odd decent start, but that's about it. Kirby's been doing well. We've talked about Kirby a lot in the last few weeks. In fact, most of baseball has talked about Kirby. He's come on the radar hand in hand with Seattle's rise through the rankings in the last couple of weeks. He's 10-8 on the year. He's got a 3.28 ERA. His last 2 starts haven't been as good. 3 and 4 earned runs. So he's been kind of fallible. Oakland have scored 23 runs in the last 4 games. So I think they can contribute to an over here. I was really surprised at how low that total is, 7.5. And particularly with the way Seattle are going. So you've got loads of options to hitting this. Even if Oakland don't contribute, Seattle could do it. I'm stunned it's so low. Kirby to record the win would be another good pick, but I don't really know what sort of odds that would be priced up as. That kind of market doesn't get on my radar. But I love the over 7.5 here, Lonte.
Yeah, I thought the total was way too low at 7.5. Also,
Trev's I didn't notice that Trev's just put up that.
Yeah, he put it in there right as you were doing.
Right, yeah, that's on my notes. I promise I'm not cheating. I've got it written down. Look. Go on,
yeah,
Lonte.
so I agree with you though. I like Seattle run line, team total over. Kirby to record a win. I think you can get better odds on that than laying the north of $2. I mean, Seattle's 9-1 in the last 10 and 37-28 at home. Don't want to mention Oakland's 30 games under 500 on the road. Seattle's won 5 straight.
Only 30?
Only
feels
30?
like 60.
Yeah, only 30 though.
Yeah.
Seattle's won 5 straight versus Oakland. 3 of those by 2+ runs. So they've scored 6+ in 9 of their last 12 games. They've covered 8 of their last 11. I mean, it's all Seattle for me here. Waldichuk has allowed 5 home runs in his last 2 starts combined. So if you want to find some, Julio props, I would definitely look at those. Kirby, you mentioned he's been shaky in his past few starts at home. 1 earned run combined in his last 3 home starts. So
nice. He's
going well there. I think Seattle buries him, similar to what we just handicapped with Atlanta. I mean, team total over, run line, full game over, whatever you can get with Seattle. I like them a lot here.
Okay, Scott.
Yeah, the one time I backed Seattle in the past 2 weeks was the game they lost to Chicago. So that's how that went. But I think I got to lean to the Seattle run line here. It's like minus 138. I once again acknowledge that they're the home team, but Oakland isn't a real team. So I got to go with Seattle here. I just think Waldichuk, we've talked about, former Yankee prospect. I think he was in the Montes trade. He's not been good this year at all. I like Kirby. I think Kirby's a good pitcher. And I do think, once again, Seattle, based on the current form, the first place Seattle Mariners, I'll go with them to cover on the run line here. They're playing for something. Oakland wasn't playing for anything when the season started. So I'll go with Seattle to win this game by multiple runs.
Yeah, they have made the top of the standings ever since the Lockdog Total me and Moonaf did 2 Fridays ago. They've absolutely taken off. We gave them out a plus 130 to make the playoffs. That price has absolutely collapsed. So yeah, keep listening here. We're very shrewd men. 9:45 Eastern first pitch is the penultimate game on the show. It is the Cincinnati Reds at the San Francisco Giants. Left-handed pitcher Brandon Williamson takes the ball for Cincinnati, and it will be Alex Cobb, one of the 2 pitchers that San Francisco occasionally name, who goes for the Giants. Plus 152 on the Reds, minus 162 on the Giants. Total is 8.5, Lonte.
Yeah, I think the total is too low. I think it should be like 9.5. So I like the over. Cincinnati, I like Cincinnati also. They've won 6 of their last 11. Offense has been really, really good. They've scored 7+ in 4 of the last 6. All of those being on the road. They had some success against San Francisco. Also, they outscored them 8-3 in their last 2 matchups this year. So that success, I think, is going to bleed into this series. San Francisco pretty much inconsistent offensively, but I think they'll be able to get it going a little versus Williamson. He's been going well, but has allowed a decent amount of contact. Throughout that. He's only given up 1 run, more than 1 run once in his last 4 starts. He pitched 6 scoreless in the last road start versus Arizona, who, had been playing well. I think we'll talk about them next. 6 innings, 4 hits, and 2 earned against San Francisco last month. So he's going well. I do worry about the contact, which is kind of why I like the over here. Cobb also has allowed 4+ runs in 3 of his last 4. He's also allowed multi-home runs in 3 of his last 5. So might want to look at some Cincinnati guys to go long here at the top of that lineup. So I like Cincinnati. I love the over.
Loves the over. Scott?
Yeah, so Cobb has been very good at home this season, going through the number of 60 innings pitched, a 2.25 ERA. Having said that, he has not been very good lately. He was decent against Philly last time out on the road, 5 innings, 2 runs. Start before that, he got buried by Atlanta, 5 2/3, 4 runs. It happens. Home start before that, faced off against Texas, 4 1/3, 6 earned runs. Start before that, he got buried by Oakland, 5 1/3, 5 runs. I think I'm going to lean to Cincinnati. I don't feel great about it, and I think that San Francisco is the better team based on current form, but record-wise, they're basically identical, and you're getting a massive price with the Reds. I'll take the Reds with the price, but once again, it's a spot where I don't really have a great opinion on it. But Cobb, I feel like he's being priced based on his overall body of work instead of recent form. I don't like the recent form, so I'll link to Cincinnati.
There's no lean here for me. I'll just outright take Cincinnati all over them. Williamson's got more good than bad in his workload lately, and I don't want anything to do with Cobb. I don't want the Giants. I rarely want the Giants. I never want them at minus 162. And they're really poor against left-handed pitching, hitting 237. Cincinnati at plus 152 is a great bet. Last game here is the 10:10 Cowboy time Eastern first pitch between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the LA Dodgers. It is Merrill Kelly for Arizona and lefty Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. Plus 172 on the Snakes. Minus 198 on the Dodgers. Total is 8.5. Scott, finish us off with a winner, please.
Yeah, so I feel like we talked about this exact matchup a couple of weeks ago, and we arrived at the conclusion that Merrill Kelly has never beaten the Dodgers, and I think he's 0-12. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers run line here. I do acknowledge that the Diamondbacks have been playing some good baseball. I hope they get into the playoffs. I'm rooting for him, but yeah, I can't ignore those lines with Kelly against the Dodgers in his career. I'm pretty sure he's either 0-11 or 0-12, and his numbers.
Yeah, you're right. No, you good. But I just remember all of us being on the Dodgers, and he pitched a fucking gem against.
And they still didn't cover the run.
Yeah, they didn't. But he pitched it wasn't his fault. Though. He pitched a gem.
He's 0-10, Scott. 5.03 ERA against the Dodgers.
He was great last time out too, but I believe he left the game early because of injury against the Reds, I think. So I don't know how healthy he actually is.
It was cramp, I think. It was a nothing. He was tired, he just needed to go,
okay.
yeah.
I think he gave up one hit and he had like 11 strikeouts at that point. But still, I'm going to take the Dodgers run line. At the end of the day, you're looking at a spot where the Dodgers team's been a freight train, and I don't really want to step in front of them. I'll take the Dodgers in the run line here.
Lonte?
Yeah, keep it short and sweet. I don't want to bet I don't want to bet against either one of these sides, so I'll go with the over. I mean, I know we got two solid pitchers, but you mentioned Kelly's woes in the Dodgers stadium, so I mean, those could come back to haunt him. Both offenses have been playing really, really well. Arizona scored 5+ in 4 of their last 5. The Dodgers have scored 6+ in 4 of their last 5. Kershaw's been dominant pretty much since his return, so I think that the Arizona bats can get to him early on. Just if they can get 1 or 2 off of him early on, I think the Dodgers will be able to handle the rest with Kelly, and then you'll get 1 or 2 runs, in the back side of the bullpen. So I like the over here. If I had to make a lean on the side, I'd lean with Kershaw and Scott on the run line.
Being on this show for me, it's just like one big tutorial, and I absorb all this information without even knowing it. I think it's in there. It just comes out. So my notes here are that Merrill Kelly's steady Eddie, and I immediately wanted to go and look at his record against the Dodgers, and I couldn't really remember why, but obviously we talked about it last time, and it must have just been in there somewhere. I couldn't overtly remember it, but I knew, and I've got it written down, 0-10 with a 5.03 ERA against the Dodgers. I just think the Dodgers will keep them at arm's length. It's kind of that big brother, little brother syndrome, a little bit like they have for the Padres. I take the Dodgers on the run line. Kelly will be fine, but then they will lose by 3 or 4 runs, and that is what's going to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've done it. We've got 15 games in the book. We have lock and dog to give out, and we'll start with Scott Reichel.
Yeah. So for the lock on the show, I'm contemplating what I want to do with this one. I think I am going to go with a first 5 under. It's going to be a total of 8. I know once again, we mentioned before there might be a total of 7 or so, but DraftKings has 8. I'm going to take the first 5 under in the Brewers and Cubs game with Burns going up against Steele. I just see once again some type of 1-1 game, 2-2 game in the 7th inning. But I like both pitchers. Steele, I mentioned how good he's been in the pretty much all year. And Burns, we know how good he can be, but I do think, once again, you're looking at what should be a pitcher's duel, and I do want to pull up the weather because it is going to be taking place in Wrigley. The wind is blowing in pretty heavily. So according to Ballpark Pal, a 16% decrease in home runs and a 13% decrease in runs. 1-1 in the 7th. Give me the first 5 under in that one. And for my dog, I had a couple of options, but I think I'm going to take the home run spin here. Give me the Nationals on the money line against the Blue Jays at around plus 162, which 172 actually on FanDuel. I think 172 is crazy. The Blue Jays scored a bunch of runs against Syndergaard and still couldn't win yesterday. But I think you're looking at, once again, a spot where the Nationals are in good form. The Blue Jays are kind of falling apart here, but I think it's a good price for the Nationals. Give me the Nationals money line at plus 172.
Yeah, there's definitely some fun dogs on this card, Scott, and that's an outstanding pick. Lonte?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with 2 dogs for my lock-in dog. So for my lock, I'm going with Milwaukee. I think Burns is going to go in. I think he's going to dominate. Each of these games have been decided by – each of the last 4 games have been decided by 1 run. So I think he's a slightly better pitcher than Steele is, although Steele is pretty good. I think that at plus money with Burns, you're not going to see that pretty often. So the offense picked up 5+ runs, 8 straight games. I think Milwaukee's going to, reverse that reverse jinx that they had with Chicago, where they had 9 hits and only scored 3 off of Chicago in that July 5th matchup. So give me Milwaukee at plus. I see plus 113, 114-ish here.
Plus 116.
I'll take that too. Yeah, I'll take that too. So yeah, I like that, Milwaukee. As for my dog, I'm gonna go with something that we all pretty much like. Mal, I'm sorry if this is your dog as well. You should have went first. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati plus 145. For all the things we mentioned. I mean, Cobb 4+ runs in 3 of his last 4. He's allowing the long ball, multi-home runs in 3 of his last 5. I mean, Cincinnati's won the last 2 matchups. They're pretty good on the road, 38-29. I like Williamson. He threw a gem against them last month. I think if Cincinnati, I always say it, is correlated with their offense. If they can score runs, they're going to be live to win the game. So I think they can do that against an inconsistent San Francisco team. Give me Cincinnati plus 145 as the dog.
Yeah, you knew Lonte. Double dog, Cincinnati at plus 152 for me. Reasons are many and obvious. So I'll take that at plus 152. And my lock is that over 7.5, Oakland, Seattle. Million different ways of winning this. I might get on the alt line here. I'll take this up to over 9.5. No worries. All manner of runs to be scored here. Seattle win 8-3. There you go. That's 4 correct scores I've given out here. Absolutely shameless. So well done, boys. I appreciate that. I feel a little bit better now, an hour and 6 minutes later, than I did an hour and 6 minutes ago over the terrible incident that befell me yesterday. So slowly I'm healing, boys, and you two have helped me. So thank you for making this a safe space for me. Lonte, anything else happening Monday night?
Nah, man, I got to get back. I got to get back going on this college football thing. So I'll let the baseball do what it do, and I got to sharpen up these numbers. So hopefully,
never stops.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get back in the winning circle.
Never stops. What's happening, Scott?
I got a fantasy football draft later, so I'll be busy with that. But I'm curious, at what point are you going to start booking tickets for the Europa League next year?
Fuck off. I nearly got a whole hour without swearing at you. Moonaf got a fuck off yesterday. You can have one tonight. Lonte, don't you?
I was trying to think of an original one. I doubt anybody would have said that to you, so that was my originality there.
Awful. Oh, look at it now here. Look, Eminem's in the chat. 1 minute and 7 into the thing. Moonaf's turned up. Moonaf, I refer you to that WhatsApp I sent you yesterday. Thanks, everyone who joined us in the chat, except Moonaf. He can go and play in the traffic. We'll be back tomorrow night, some iteration or other. Good luck with all your bets. Until then, we'll see you down the road. Cheers.